and I personally would love to see it. But question to you guys, Evans asks, PTR spoilers something that they just hate about WoW. How much of the fact that WoW has a PTR do you feel that impacts the overall story, and why people might not necessarily be so worried about spoilers in WoW as a culture?
So the PTR does not give you full access. It's kind of like a media tour each and every time, but with some bosses. So we are seeing some bosses. So you are seeing some kind of trial type reveals, but you're not doing every single quest. You're not doing all of the Covenant campaigns. It is still limited to a degree. I think that you do run the risk of spoiling things by having any early access whatsoever, but in trade for that, in theory, you're getting feedback. My problem with the PTR at this point is that the PTRs are running so close to the release date of the patch, and they are taking in so little of the feedback from the PTR and making a meaningful announcement as to why they are not making changes that are called for. Because I don't want it to be like, hey, we asked for this, so you have to change it. Like, we asked for this, you didn't change it, but like, if you're not going to change it, you owe an explanation why, because you put out something and asked for player feedback. And so you either need to make those changes so that it's very apparent that you listened, or you need to at least acknowledge that you listened. And instead, it feels like they just give us early access to a portion of the content. We play it, we complain about it, and then we play it live again for the very same problems. And so if you're not going to leverage the player feedback component, then I don't know why you'd reveal any of it early.
I don't do a whole lot of PTR, if I'm going to be honest, so I can't really say a whole lot in terms of this regard, because I tend to stay away from PTR because I kind of heard that reputation about them of not really listening to people. So I was like, why play PTR to begin with when I can just keep progressing my character? But then again, my character's going to get reset anyway when the next stuff comes around. So I guess I lose either way. But in terms of fun, enjoyment, and whatnot, I didn't actually start doing the PTR until, was it Legion? My Legion or BFA? I know I did some in BFA. No, it was just BFA is when I finally started jumping. I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll try and see if I'll get hurt. Oh, I got hurt. All right. So I play Demonology Warlock, and I main Demonology Warlock in there, and I do that in PvP specifically, and that's kind of a rarity because Demonology Warlocks in PvP are kind of a unicorn because of how many things they got to trip over themselves in order to win. But I really like the fantasy of like a mass army of like minions going towards things. So I just wanted to see if I can make it work. And I was making it work in the beta as well for BFA. I tested out the Demonology Warlock in the PvP Mugam Bala, the PvP section where everyone was just collaborating and just constantly dueling. I found out Demonology Warlock was really strong. I had like 150 wins and 7 losses for a while in dual win losses because I found out one really, really strong lethal combo. And I was like, yeah, Demonology seems a little overtuned. And literally, I think it was a day before launch, the Demonology Warlock got a flat 25% damage reduction across everything. They nerfed one of the town's Grimoire Felguard by 75%. And they unsynced its cooldown to where it no longer syncs with Tyrant. And having the Tyrant cooldown sync with it, because I had a combo which was Dreadstalker, summon 2 dogs, summon Grimoire Felguard, which immediately summoned another Felguard, which stunned the target. And I would immediately cast into Demonic Tyrant, which leached their health and gave it more damage based on how much health it leached. And while they're stunned in there, I was just free to summon it. And if they trinketed it, I immediately pressed my main pet stun. So now they had no trinket and they had to sit through it. And then while they're getting slammed, I would throw Mortal Coil out, which would have them kind of incapacitated, but feared, but also wasn't broken in damage. And so they'd be stuck there. And I would have my main Felgar use it's a talent. It was a big spinny thing that did 400% extra damage what it usually did. So he basically Beybladed people to death from 100 to 0 in like 4 seconds. So that was what I usually did. And then that got completely nerfed, and Demonology was struggling ever since the very beginning, all the way until, Corruptions came around, I think, or at least the patch before that. Yeah, I think it was a patch before that. They started finally coming back around, but I kind of stopped playing WoW for a bit for Final Fantasy XIV. Actually, no, that is when I stopped playing WoW. No, yeah. I stopped before the Corruptions dropped, and I was like, yeah, Corruption seems a little... They don't feel like a satisfying win anymore because it's RNG for things. But anyway, what are we talking about?
We were talking about the PTR, the effect that it has impacting on spoilers. So that was an interest. Like, I was like, I don't, we went into like an area of like, I don't know. I've been even see like chat, like talking about would a PTR ever come for Final Fantasy XIV? And then over on Twitch, which is interesting, just kind of as a thought, before we get into kind of this final topic that I want to really kind of pose to you guys, I got a special hidden topic for you guys as a post show, just everybody hanging out with us. And also be sure to like that smash button whenever you get the opportunity here on Ginger Gamer Radio. But the thing is that when it comes to spoilers, I think what people are talking about is that people data mine the PTR like crazy because those files get checked in. Chris and I have been vehemently against data mining leaks, and we've seen people get bit just recently. And this is great. I don't want to ruin your experience with the game, the community, but there was a mount that was data mined and was believed to be a part of the game. It ends up being a cash shop mount, and it sent obviously the community kind of in the spiral, namely because there was obviously data mine and assumption. So I see that essentially that things can go really wrong with data mining. You can get excited, and so it's like this weird balance, and you haven't got to experience any of that, and that's actually, I think, a really good thing. But it's one of the things that we see happen more often than not, to the point where it was data mined that we were going to get flying in ARR, or it is assumed that we were going to get that. Chris is like, guys, like if it happens, great. However, don't rest everything on it because it might not be now. It might be later. We see that, and it happens, which was like, yay, and then it was like, you're an idiot. It's like, no, trust me. That is the exception to the rule of people getting mad on the internet for things that they assumed. And that just is something where I would think 14 shouldn't have it. If they ever do, I would recommend, if I was running a studio and I had the ability, PTR would be literally on a streaming, platform. They would team up with GeForce Now or with Stadia.
And that's a new technology.
And as a new technology, meaning that you would never have access to the files, but you could still access the client, test it, etc. But then you wouldn't. But then the question is that would people even really go test it? Because it's like, I think there's probably the bigger testing community is like more interested in trying to gain whatever they can get out of it. What do you think, Chris?
I mean, so we went to the media tour for Shadowbringers, which is the closest I've been to a PTR experience for 14, because that's the closest they let it get. I've played on PTRs for WoW for early access to upcoming expansions, as well as for individual patches. And for me, what early access to a game is there to do is to help me make decisions that I can't make without that content. It's not to gorge myself on content that I'm going to now have to re-clear again with less context. So I don't want early access to anything that's story related, because I don't want to I already in many games don't like clearing the story once. I don't want to clear it twice. And I definitely don't want to clear it with partial context where I'm like, oh, that's cool. But then that spoils that moment. When doing it in the entire game, that moment means so much more because of additional context that was lacking in the early access. So I think you're taking something away from it. And so I don't traditionally like seeing the battle content, because I don't really enjoy clearing things and not getting loot so that I can clear them again and get loot. That's one of the problems with RNG style systems, is that it's very frustrating to prog a boss and then not get anything worthwhile and then have to prog that boss again. And so the idea that people would opt into a system that's designed like that from the get-go, I'm glad they're doing it. I don't have any interest. And so what I use early access for is to tell me if I should play a game, or to tell me about things that I'm concerned about. So like for Shadowlands, for example, I hopped into the PTR specifically to test out all the changes they were making to crafting, because they were making some substantial changes because of the way leveling changed. Crafting had to change drastically. And so they were introducing this system called time-worn artifacts, I think what they're called, where you make these artifacts that basically assign an item level to a crafted item, because basically the entire crafting system broke when they changed the way all the expansions are now scaled to your level. And so the expansions don't have to be done in order anymore. So it's weird if the crafting professions are still done in order. And so I wanted to try that system out. And there was all this speculation that there would be like a money making, and then they nerfed it to where it was like a money loss. And I wanted to go take a part in that conversation. While I was at it, I wanted to try out the new player experience because I was fascinated by it. And then I stopped. I didn't go do any open world questing. I didn't see what my class felt like at max level, because I don't care, because it's going to be there. And so I trust that people who do have stronger, more well-versed opinions are testing that and offering feedback. They're going to offer better feedback than me anyway. And so that's what I want access to. The media tour, on the other hand, it does all that for me. The story was stripped. There wasn't access to like trial fights. We got to go run like one dungeon.
Yep.
We got to run it with a trust and with other players.
And also not at level cap. Well, the open world, we were playing at level cap. It was, the dungeon was like the 0.3 dungeon or whatever, like meaning.
Yeah, they brought us down. We synced. They brought us down
73. Yeah.
And so our level 80 characters naturally kind of sync down. And it just like, I got access to exactly what I wanted. I just wanted to see what are the answers to the questions that are concerning people, myself included. And am I still excited about this? And if I am, great, then I'm done. So we only got access to that media tour footage for like 6 or 8 hours. And then we logged off and we were done. That's enough for me. Like I didn't want more time. Sometimes you see content creators, or if you pre-order a game or something like that, you get these like 2 weeks of access and they delete it. I never need that long. Yeah. Because I don't want to put any more time in a PTR or beta state to get deleted than I need to make an informed decision.
Somebody's like, are you going to play the New World Open Beta? It's like, no, I'm pre-ordered. I'm in. I'm ready to play on the 28th, and I don't feel like leveling up just to do that all over again on the 28th. I'm ready, and I'm excited for the 28th for New World because my character finally is my character. My investment is my investment, and I'm very much looking for that experience. Now, I do want to shift the topic, kind of our final discussion here. Lucron, have you heard of this new 14 streamer, Asmongold, and his buddy Rich?